Welcome to all of you in Sankalpa Education Pratham classes. I am Sachin Patil. Delivered lecture series on mechanical properties of fluids, inside which we are going with the next point is a difference between solid and fluid. Solid can subject to shear stress, that means tangential stress and normal stress. Normal stress are considered as a compressive and tensile. Compressive stress, it is applied to all side and it compress the volume of that substance, and tensile stress the lengthen that substance, that means increase the length of that substance by using that one like a rubber. And compressing, when we taken a sponge ball in your hand and we are press it, at that time you will get the compression, and we take the rubber in your hand and elongate it, at that time you will get the tensile condition. Inside this we will use the forces acting normally to the surface of that substances, and therefore it is a normal stress. Inside the solid oppose the shear stress by developing restoring force. What does it mean? That means when stress is applied on the, or shear stress applied on the solid, at that time solid provides inside the solid molecules provides the restoring force, which is oppose the shear stress by using that restoring force. That means deformation in solid is reversible. That means when we apply the shearing stress, there will be change in the solid, and when we remove that shear stress, at that time deformation done inside the solid is reversed back, and the substance got its original dimension. And this is your consideration related to that solid when we apply the shear stress. For example, when we use the rubber and we apply the shear stress, we change the length of that rubber. When we apply the force, at that time we change the length of rubber, but inside the rubber there will be a production of restoring force, and which is opposed to the shear stress. When we remove the shear stress, at that time rubber once again comes to its original dimension, and therefore deformation in solid is a reversible one. But in ideal fluid, now we have to going with the ideal fluid. It can only subject to normal or and compressive stress. This compressive stress is also called as a pressure, and very weak resistance to deformation. That means there will be in ideal fluid very weak resistance to deformation, and in a real fluid it display viscosity. That means it provides and it capable to subject to low level of shear stress. That means due to real ideal fluid does not gives the viscosity or whatever we want, whatever we get the surface tension. Those phenomena are not found inside the ideal fluid. But ideal fluid is not found in universe. At that time you are going with a real fluid, and a real fluid displayed the viscosity, and therefore it subject to subject to subject to low level of shear stress, and at the time here to considered here is that later to consider small surface area dA. dA be the small surface area rest within fluid, and all surrounding fluid exerts the, and dF be the force exerted by surrounding fluid on that area, and therefore you will get the consideration of this is nothing but later to consider this is a small surface area, and on this dF be the force acting in both direction. That means dF is acting on both direction, and this area is dA is there, and this compressible or this shearing stress which is acting on that small area, and due to real fluid display the viscosity, but ideal fluid does not display the viscosity, and it offers very weak resistance to the deformation. But in solid you will get the resistance to the shearing stress, and therefore solid opposes the shearing stress, and this opposes the shearing stress, and therefore deformation in the solid is reversible, and it is also called as elastic property of fluid, and due to that elastic property the solid not a fluid, it is a solid, and a solid due to that elastic property it opposes the shearing stress which is maintained inside the solid. But in ideal fluid there will be no resistance to the deformation, and if it is occur, then it is a very weak. In a real fluid due to viscosity it is subject to small shear stress, and therefore dA be the small surface area rest within a fluid, and dF be the force which is exerted on that rest surface inside the fluid in due to surrounding material. Right now we are going with the properties of fluids as follows. Now in properties of fluid, first property is nothing but they do not oppose deformation. That means it gives the permanent deformed condition. That means deformation is nothing but a change in the shape and size, or whatever length, shape, size, volume, then it is called as a deformation, and permanent deformation found inside the fluid. Second one is they have ability to flow. That means we know that the fluid is nothing but a substance which can able to flow, and therefore the fluid they have ability to flow. This is one property related to that one. And third one, they have ability to take shape of the container. That means when we pour the water, water is a fluid one, and it is poured inside the different shape of jars. At that time, the water take the shape of that container, and this is the ability of the proper ability of fluid, and those are the properties of fluid inside the consideration. Right now we are moving in moving in the next lecture with the fluid at rest, and inside this we are going with the different properties, and we can going with one branch of physics which is nothing but hydrostatics. In hydrostatics we are going with the physics which deals with the properties of fluids when which is taken it as a rest, and you will get the properties like pressure. Pressure is one of the property related to that one, and you will get the pressure which is acting vertically or horizontally. Inside this you are to going with a consideration of pressure due to liquid column, and atmospheric pressure. Those are the different points related to that one, and at that time you were going with a absolute pressure and gauge properties related to that one. First, this is properties of fluids, and we can going with the next lectures series with those different points related to that of fluids. If you like that video, please subscribe my channel and click on bell icon to get the next notification related to lecture series of that mechanical properties of fluids. Thank you.